my name's Yoana, and I actually moved to this country when I was 7. And there, in terms of physical activity, I found I wasn't actually very active at all. I did face quite a few barriers, being an immigrant and my parents not having much access to information and, extra money to put me in a sport. So I finally found sport when I started my degree at Loughborough. You're just surrounded by sport everywhere you go, so it was very hard not to be encapsulated by it. And I'm very lucky actually, because obviously from then I was like, right, I want to work in sport. Just being in that environment, I was like, this is perfect. And then my degree wasn't in sport or anything sport based at the time. I did English and business, and then I graduated, moved to China, taught PE for a few years, and then moved back and did my sport business and leadership masters at Loughborough, again, Loughborough, London. And now I am a community sports worker for Lincolnshire County Council for Positive Futures, and I love my job. So
that's always a good thing to love your job. And it sounds like you've had a very varied background, although coming into sport quite late. Can you tell us a little bit about the sport and the physical activity that you do personally?
Yes, so I am a weightlifter, so I'm not used to team sports. I'm more so much of a person as, right, I am my own competition, and what's this week's PB? What can I do? Personal best. What can I do? How can I be better than last week? How can I be better than last month? And recently, you're never too old to start. Well, old, I'm 27, but you're never too old to start a new sport. Hello, I'm back. Recently, I started tennis. So I've been playing that for just under a year now. So yeah, my new thing.
Watch out. So what have been the barriers and the challenges that you've faced?
I think there is a plethora of sort of challenges, whether that's obviously my first introduction to sport. There's a reason I wasn't introduced to sport from an early age. When I was at school, PE was very separate, so from boys and girls. So girls would do girls sports and boys would do boys sports. So girls wouldn't really be doing rugby, football, basketball. Girls would be doing gymnastics, netball, things like that. And at the time, it's such a shame that sport wasn't looked at as a cool thing to do. It was actually, you were cool if you sat out of PE. And I think it's definitely changed since then, which thankfully it has. So that, and then obviously me coming into the sport career side, I think I was a bit oblivious when I first started my masters of the fact that in this day and age there are still barriers for women in sport. During my masters, I had a part-time job, and I would look after this 3G pitch and just let teams kind of play on and sign them in and deal with various football teams. And the amount of disgusting comments that I would get every single day, and I got offered jobs to work for these football teams just as something to look at, sort of thing. And it's just disgusting, this sort of attitude. And having that job beside my masters, I was like, it really opened my eyes, and I was like, wow, like women are still mistreated in such a male dominated industry. Women are mistreated, and they don't really get the opportunities that men get, really. And so during my masters, a lot of my research was around women and girls, and I did host a number of women in sport lectures that we made available for the students. So we had various speakers come and speak about their experience being a woman in sport. And, you know, a lot of them have faced various difficulties. In this job, I don't think I've not experienced any adversity. Like, I got this job quite not easily, but I got it fairly. And in my job, because we have a few areas, we are quite women. I think we do have quite a lot of women. We probably have more women than men, I think. I don't know, maybe 50-50. Maybe we're quite good with 50-50. So I've not experienced it since being on my job. Probably like, oh, you're a girl, you know, you shouldn't be, you know, coaching the guys and things like that. Silly comments from young people. But it's just, I guess, creating, just being there and being, you know, the role model for younger girls. I think, I'm hoping, creates like little steps. And then yeah, and then obviously most recently I've become a mum, and of course I did continue training through my pregnancy up till probably the last couple of days, really.
Wow.
Before giving birth. And I did face a lot of barriers, more so on image, trying to break a mold. Of course, I did a lot of research before. I think any pregnant mum does a lot of research before they do anything, even like, you know, eating a piece of ham. It's like, can I eat this piece of ham? Okay, no, I can't. Moving on. So of course I did a lot of research before continuing to train, about whether I can. And despite what, you know, my shouldn't be lifting anything heavy, despite what the doctors were telling me, no, you can't, despite what the midwives, and to be fair, a lot of them kind of said, I'm not sure, but I don't think you can. They're very, I think, in terms of training, neither doctors or midwives had any idea. They literally said, I don't know, but I don't think so. My personal opinion is you shouldn't.
Very
And
risk averse, I'd imagine. So
yeah, and I think there's a whole piece there. As soon, you know, that confusion alone from someone that you're supposed to trust as an expert kind of took me aback, and I was like, right, research myself. All the research that had been carried out in the past, I don't know, I'd say probably 20 years, had all positives, like you should be continuing. You know, there are so many benefits to, you know, reducing, you know, the pregnancy weight gain, to, you know, how the fetal development is improved, decreasing your chances of a C-section, of your duration of the labor. There's so many, of course, anxiety during the pregnancy. Those are a given because, you know, pregnancy exercise is generally obviously good for anxiety. So all of these things I'm reading, there's so many benefits. So why is everyone telling me not to? And so that was always in the back of my mind, like, oh, should I be doing this? Should I not be doing this? Am I risking my baby? And then obviously I'd made a TikTok that went viral of me training throughout my pregnancy. And then I got absolutely slated on TikTok as well about that. Loads of different, thousands of comments saying, why are you doing this? You're risking.
Was that women and men?
I'm not sure, to be fair, but I think so, a variety, yeah. Because it went, to be fair, it wasn't only TikTok viral, then a few like newspaper company picked it up, like today.com picked it up in America, and obviously they put it on Instagram, like that they posted this new article, and then it's like going through the comments, and it's like and there's such a misinformation around training. And like I said to you, the midwives and the doctors had no idea, and it's becoming so much more common, you know. women and girls in fitness, in weightlifting, in the gym, naturally, I think there just needs to be a bit more training around that, and just keeping people up to date with the most recent research. So yeah, so definitely throughout my pregnancy, I was almost like, oh, right, I know I've read this, but everyone's saying this. So I was very like two minds about it, and I was probably a lot more stressed than I should have been, because okay, I know I've read the research, but then when everyone, your family, everyone, on social media is saying you shouldn't, you can't help but play on your mind. But anyway, I still continued. I was a bit more cautious with reducing the weights, so I was trying to be safe. But yeah, that was definitely a big barrier. Not so anything else, but just the perception of other people, the other people's perception on me training whilst pregnant. So that was a big barrier. And yeah, I think a lot of women go through it, sadly. Yeah, so I think definitely some more training, information, and just like you guys are doing. I mean, you guys are publicizing quite a lot about pre and postnatal training. And this isn't to say, start training, start weightlifting when you're pregnant. Shouldn't do that. But if you have been weight training previously, absolutely continue. There's nothing, to say that you can't or shouldn't. So
how old's your daughter now?
she's now 10.5 months. And yeah, I'm still enjoying weight training. I do really. So just before she came, or just before I was, and that kind of had to take a back seat, just because obviously when you do weight train through pregnancy, you can't increase the weights. You can stay at what you are, and as the trimesters go, so second trimester, third trimester, you kind of have to reduce the weight so it suits you, whatever's comfortable really. So but you can't increase. And I was obviously training to powerlift, and that had to take a back seat. So now I am finally taking the steps again, trying to get my strength up, and hopefully I can do some compete in powerlifting. I don't know, maybe in a year or two potentially. We'll see how my strength levels go. But yeah, I'm just really enjoying it, really. I think it's definitely an outlet postnatal as much as it is during your pregnancy. It's such an outlet just to get away for an hour every day or every 2 days, and just focus on something that's just yours. So yeah.
How soon after the birth did you start back weightlifting?
2 weeks. which is actually not advised. But I think it's when it's so ingrained in your just day-to-day life. I think I was more so going mad not going, rather than going. But the first couple of weeks it was just really taking it slow, not doing weights, well, mainly not doing weights, doing minimal weights, and yeah, just being quite cautious and careful. But yeah, 2.5 weeks just for my own sanity and mental health, really.
No, that's good. So I mean, you covered a few things, but what has gone well besides having a beautiful daughter? I've seen the pictures. So
oh, thank you. What has gone well? So I think I could probably cover this in, to be fair, like my women in girls, my career at the moment with women in girls. What has gone well with that is that, to be fair, the recent obviously uptake of women's football, I think, is wonderful, because it has shone a light on women's sports, not just football, but women's sports in general. And I think it's kind of showing to girls that it's okay to do a sport. So in our Grantham program, I've only just got come back from maternity, but we are planning loads of activities for young girls. Like, we're just going to start a girls football session, so we're hoping that goes well, and obviously that's free, and we're really trying to diversify our girls offering on our Grantham program, so that I'm hoping, well, it will go well because so many of our girls come already, and it's just nice to see the recent uptake and increasing girls in sports on our program compared to, a few years ago. So that's going well. I think what has gone well in terms of my pre and postnatal is that I think to me, it has showed me where there's gaps and where those gaps need filling. Like I said to you, that midwives and doctors just need to be educated, especially midwives. They work with these women every day, just things that need to happen. And I was even thinking, right, how can I do this? how can I make this happen? How can I train these midwives to know, to just be able to answer pregnant women questions, and not to be like, oh, I don't know, and rather than answer the questions with backed up knowledge, put them in more doubt, because that's what happened to me. So that's definitely, it's almost like showing me, okay, cool, this needs to happen. I really want to get my pre and postnatal qualification, and hopefully just open up those conversations where they need to be opened up. And what else has happened? I am absolutely recommending to anyone that I know that is training, that it's okay to train and it's fine to train. And I've made other TikToks since on why it's okay to train why it's okay to continue to weightlift whilst pregnant, and hopefully just putting out, bits of information for this if there are certain medical
Well, please share those. Please share those with us, and we'll share it on our social media as well. So, have you got any top tips just to finish us off, or
top tips?
Yeah.
Top tips, I'm going to say, so from I'll cover 3 different bits. So first, from a cultural perspective, top tips, I think, is just try and find what's out there, because a lot of people don't know about what programs are out there for young people, especially. And I know that, had it been when I was younger, if I had looked into it, I probably would have found a program that I could have joined in sport, and kind of been introduced to sport a lot earlier. Another thing about women and girls top tips is that I think young girls it's difficult to engage them in sport, so it's probably finding ways of creating social opportunities for the girls. Also tapping into, like, I'm starting a stretch class for girls that are going through GCSEs and A levels, so it's just almost like trying to map out, right, what's going on in these girls' lives, and how can I put something to complement them. So yeah, even if they don't want to go out to a team sport, a 30-minute stretch class in their neighborhood would probably lower their stress levels just as much as, an hour of running around would.
And that would be a girls only session as well.
Yeah. And then finally, pre and postnatal is for those women who are concerned about training. Just do your research, just look online and look at the research yourself, because asking your midwives, it might confuse you and it might plant seeds of doubt. However, of course, if there are certain medical conditions, do take those into consideration. But always do your research, do your own research, and do what's comfortable for you and your body. So that's probably my top tips. And just don't be scared. Don't be scared to train. It is perfectly okay and safe. Yeah.
Excellent. No, thank you very much for coming on and talking through some of the things you've done. I know there's heaps we could talk about, and we'll probably do a longer piece a bit later on. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ian.